podcast. I walked out. Too crude.
Here we go. Pregame.com. We got a good one, at least on paper. Monday Night Football, the Texans at New England. New England laying 3 minus some juice, 52 for the total. Steve Fezzik's got a free play on this. But as I throw it to you, Steve, I wanted to mention that the Texans are 6-0 on the road. They've got this phenomenal 18-4 spread run with Matt Schaub at quarterback. But I don't like all these injuries, especially because they're basically grouped to the linebackers and the cornerback positions going all the way back to when Cushing, who to me, besides Watt, is their most important player. He's also their quarterback, so to speak, on defense. They haven't really generated a win against a formidable foe in a great spot. The win over Denver came early in the season, and when I watched that game, that was back when Peyton Manning was still looking like he had a hard time reaching the kind of velocity he needs on his passes. The other so-called good win came against the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, in that Bear game, Cutler, of course, gets knocked out, gets concussed. I really don't think Houston is able to win that game if he doesn't. 30-mile-an-hour winds, bad weather, and that's any defense was going to look good against the Bears that night, especially without Cutler. And you look at the recent games. What teams have you guys been ripping on all show here? You tell me how Jacksonville stinks. Well, Jacksonville and Henny look good against them. They look pretty darn good when they put up 40 on these guys, and that's without Cushing, without these linebackers. This was, I think, without Joseph also.
Sure.
But with all these defensive injuries, this team's becoming a paper tiger, but no one notices it because they keep getting the wins. They get the 6-0 turnover ratio differential. Oh, it's called ratio turnover difference. Last week to go ahead and win by 14. And let's look at that game against this dysfunctional Lion group that all they do is lose. What clever ways to find to lose a game. Let's go ahead and give Houston a cheap 70-yard run and let them pad the rushing stats with when the kid's elbow and his forearm and his knee are all down on the ground and the replacement refs blow it. Oh, no, those are the real refs. I'm the only guy who thinks the replacement refs were better than
I was saying way back when all that was going on with the replacement refs, that I hope the same broadcasters on these games who will spend 10 minutes talking about a blown call by the replacement refs do the same when the real officials come out there, because every Sunday, I don't know about you guys, but I see at least a dozen bad calls with the regular refs, but they just let it go. They just move on.
3 weeks with the scab refs. We got one 10-yard defensive holding call instead of 5 yards, and one Golden Tate interception touchdown. That's all you got? That's it? Yeah. We got minute and a half runoffs while they're measuring for fourth down. So we got 70-yard runs when guys got 3 body parts on the ground. I mean, it's a joke. These refs are so bad. I digress. The bottom line is it was a phony win they got against Detroit. It was actually a lucky win against god-awful Jacksonville. And then they get the 6-0 turnover difference. This team is really not playing well at all. And now they got their 3rd straight road game, and they're playing against the genius where in Gillette in December when he's phenomenal. Right. And we talk about turnovers. Ain't going to be no 6-0 turnover difference here, because the one thing, if you play for Belichick and you turn the ball over, you don't play anymore.
Exactly.
And because of that, I think maybe they had a 17-3 run on turnovers recently. New England, how lucky. Well, it's like 50-12 the last 62. This team gets turnovers and they don't cough the ball up.
Offensive line problems for New England a little bit last week. They gave up 4 sacks to the Miami Dolphins. But, playing on kind of what Steve was saying, there are some of these maybe false margins of victory against Tennessee. You can't call them the previous 2 weeks false margins because they barely got the wins outright. I give them credit because they had that horrible scheduling spot last week against Tennessee. They didn't turn the ball over. They didn't make those kind of flat mistakes. But they did need all those turnovers to win the game. They win by 14. And when you break it down, you see that they only averaged 4.7 yards per play against Tennessee in that game. That scares me a little bit about this Houston team, besides the close calls they've had the last few weeks, Marco.
Well, I agree with you guys what you're saying about Houston, but, we can sit here and say the same things about New England. New England, they're on a 6-game winning streak.
Let me throw this at you. You got a plus 170-point differential by a team that's 9-3. The team that's 11-1 is like plus 80. Not exactly plus 80, but it's a huge difference in plus, I think it's 118 to tell you the truth, but it's a big difference as far as this team that's 9-3. They win by margin more than Houston.
They are, because what's happening is New England's turning their turnovers into points is what's happening. Sure. They execute those, and I mean, how many did they have in the Jet game on Thanksgiving Day? 17-3 turnover margin during the 6-game winning streak. Yet you're only 3-3 against the spread. If you've got that many turnovers, I mean, you're plus 14 over 6 games.
Well, their defense ain't great.
How are you not covering the spread?
Because Miami's kicking field goals down 10 with a minute and a half to play because they're not stupid like the Raiders.
I mean, that's the situation that, New England's always such a, high-priced commodity because of Tom Brady, because of Belichick, and deservingly so. I'm not arguing that.
I'm going to disagree. High-priced commodity, they're the cheapest commodity out there. If there's one team you're going to bet on and make money on, it's the Patriots the last 7 years.
Relative to the money you're making on them. Yeah, that's what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, but you can't argue the last 6 weeks. They've had every break go their way, and they're a 500 ball club against the spread. The spot that you said 3 games in a row, that's something that doesn't happen that often in the NFL anymore. Old school, that used to be an automatic fade back in the day when teams played their 3rd straight road game. Not only is it their 3rd straight road game, it's their 4th road game in 5 weeks. This team's been all over the place, and they've played that big Sunday night game against Chicago, bad weather. Then they had to come home, play Jacksonville.
It's like their 4th game in 22 days or something like that.
They played Jacksonville that Sunday. That was a mail-in game for them because they were playing 4 days later on Thanksgiving. So Houston's had a lot of bad spots. I think that this Houston ball club is still a fundamentally sound team. I think that they're going to make noise in the playoffs, but this is a bad spot for them on Monday.
I just think they're missing parts. I really do. I think that cluster injury situation at linebacker and corner hurts this team. Anyway, this is Steve's free pick.
This is a free pick. I will take the New England Patriots -3, lay $1.20. I would jump on that. The line had started at 4. It was dropping. I don't think it's going to drop anymore. And one more intangible, not just Houston being banged up, playing 3rd road game in a row, but the fact that we got a team in the South here, Houston, heading up to Gillette Stadium. It's probably going to be a little bit cold, and another intangible advantage for the Patriots. They're so good in December against the spread. Patriots all the way.
Good stuff, guys, and thanks for coming down and filling in for Brian. I mean, it was nice to have you here and that different perspective. Brian, of course, we're rooting for this weekend in the Cantor Racing Sports Contest.
Go!
He's in the semifinals. There's 3 guys left. He's got a chance to advance to the championship round. If you enjoyed what you heard here, even if you didn't, every Thursday night you can hear the 3 of us on First Preview Radio, locally in Las Vegas, ESPN 1100, 98.9 FM. You can also listen to it archived on the pregame.com homepage. We're all on Thursday nights. Check it out. Fezzik breaks down all the NFL with RJ Bell, and I got Marco with me as we break down college basketball, NBA, and that weekend's NFL. We'll see you next week. Put this one in the win column. Talk to you soon right here at pregame.tv.